Good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon. We gotta have how you doing? We gotta have everybody mute their, mute this side. Mintu, can you make sure, Mr. Mintu, can you make sure everybody's mute? All right, we're gonna get started in a couple minutes. Thank y'all for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon. Can y'all hear me? I guess y'all can hear me. I'm sure you can.
Loud and clear.
All right, thank you, sir. Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen who are attending this news briefing. Um, This news briefing is being held by myself, Malik Shabazz. That's Malik Shabazz. I'm the lead counsel for Black Lawyers for Justice and also attorney for Michael Jenkins and Eddie Parker, along with attorney Trent Walker, who is here on the line also. We're the attorneys for Michael Jenkins, Eddie Parker, Alan Schmidt, and others who have been abused and tortured by the Rankin County Police Department. The subject matter of this news briefing is to respond to and elaborate on the United States Department of Justice Civil Rights Division under the leadership of Assistant Attorney General Kristen Clark and her Southern Division, their decision to open a formal investigation into the Rankin County Sheriff's Department. This formal decision by the U.S. DOJ Civil Rights Division to open a pattern and practice investigation against Rankin County Sheriff's Department is welcome news. We welcome this federal investigation into Rankin County and to Sheriff Brian Bailey. It is long overdue and it is welcome. So that is our subject. And so we open up by thanking the United States Department of Justice, its Civil Rights Division, and their operations in Mississippi for taking civil rights and police brutality seriously. This is welcome news to us as attorneys who are fighting this battle in this county. And this is welcome news to the victims that we represent. This is welcome news to those that are suffering in the county and the state of Mississippi who want to know that where Rankin County has failed to act, and where the state of Mississippi has failed to act against police brutality and excessive force, that there is some remedy, and there is a remedy here. And so we thank Attorney General Kristen Clarke because from our observations from her work in Rankin County now, which in specific, the Goon Squad convictions, as you all know, back earlier this year in federal and state court, the Rankin County Goon Squad, those 6 defendants, Hunter Elward, Christian Detman, Opdyke, Mr. Middleton, Brett McAlpin, and Hartsfield, that those 6 defendants were sentenced to a total of 132 years in federal prison for their crimes against Mr. Jenkins, Parker, and Mr. Schmidt. And so we thank them for that work and for going further in along with the allegations in our civil lawsuit. Our civil lawsuit was filed in June of 2023, and it says that this was not just an isolated incident that happened between Jenkins and Parker, but that the actions that occurred, the vicious torture, the sexual assault, and the outrageous litany of actions that occurred against Jenkins and Parker were not merely criminal acts on that day by the Goon Squad, but they were part of a systemic problem in Rankin County where Sheriff Brian Bailey and Rankin County failed to train, failed to supervise, failed to take credible allegations of excessive force and false arrests and beatings and torture seriously. So all of this is welcome as I open up. All of this is welcome news. We've long ago said this is systemic. The Department of Justice Civil Rights Division and what they're doing in Rankin County and what they have done in Lexington and in the prisons in Mississippi, this is welcome news to people in Mississippi who want justice. And so before I hand it over to Mr. Trent Walker and we open up for questions here, again, we say that what the federal government and what the Department of Justice is investigating in Rankin County, which is that Rankin County Sheriff's Department has engaged in a pattern and practice of excessive force, that Rankin County Sheriff's Department has engaged in a pattern and practice of unlawful stops, searches, and arrests. And they're looking into whether Rankin County has been engaged and does engage in discriminatory policies based on race. This is what we have already been alleging in our civil lawsuit, and the federal investigation mirrors the allegations in our lawsuit. Attorney Trent Walker and I know of dozens of victims over the years who in Rankin County that they have been beaten, the persons have been tortured, dildos have been used against them, all kind of outrageous acts that appear later in the Jenkins case, but that these similar things were being done earlier by earlier officers. We've alleged this. They are following up now as the Department of Justice, and we appreciate it. And this is long overdue, and this is the true road for justice. It goes beyond just the Goon Squad, because this department has been riddled with excessive force and violations of constitutional rights. And I can't understand why Sheriff Brian Bailey is still there. But at this point, I'm going to turn it over to my co-counsel, Mississippi Attorney Trent Walker.
Hello, everybody. First of all, thank you, Attorney Shabazz. I don't want to be repetitive. I think that Attorney Shabazz has said a lot of the things that I would also have said. I do want to join in and thank the Department of Justice, Deputy Attorney General Kristen Clark, U.S. Attorney Todd G., and all of the hardworking members of the Department of Justice, the Civil Rights Division, who have worked tirelessly since this case was brought to light. And we want to thank them for everything that they have done and everything that they will continue to do in this case. We're confident that once they get in and they get to digging into the past behaviors, the past criminal prosecutions that were brought by not just these officers, but the department as a whole, that they will feel well justified in having opened this investigation, because we believe that there is more than adequate evidence that this pattern of abuse, pattern of discrimination, pattern of torture has been going on for a long time to exceed the term in office of Brian Bailey. And we feel like Brian Bailey is symptomatic of the problem, that too long this has gone on with a wink and a nod and has not been seriously addressed. And we are confident that with the opening of this pattern and practice investigation, that justice will continue to be forthcoming. With that, I will turn it over back to Attorney Shabazz.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen of the press, if you'll just raise your hand, our moderator will take your questions. If you're from the press, we'll let you go first. Mr. Minter, you can open up the mics. I think we got Christina C. here. Christina here with her hand up.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you so much for holding this press conference. Just wanted to get a check on Eddie and Michael. How are they doing? And what their thoughts are on everything that's been going on. Yeah, just an update on them.
Eddie Parker and Michael Jenkins are happy, and they are appreciative of the fact that the Rankin County Sheriff's Department is under formal investigation, because they know better than anybody the reputation of Rankin County Sheriff's Department, and they know better than anybody that this had gone on a long time before they were abused and attacked on January 24th of 2023. They know better than anybody, and they know better than anybody that is not just limited to those 6 officers. And so they're happy that justice continues, and they're happy that that this investigation that it supports their civil case, which is still ongoing against Rankin County. We have a civil case on behalf of Mr. Jenkins and Mr. Parker, and soon to be other cases. But this case, the DOJ opening this investigation pushes back against what Rankin County has been saying in the civil case, which the courts and the judges have disagreed with Rankin also. Rankin have been trying to say that only the officers were responsible, and that Rankin County and Sheriff Bailey were ignorant to this, and the facts just don't add up to that. The court has not agreed with Rankin County, and the Department of Justice does not agree in Rankin County. So it is a shame. It is a shame that it takes extensive litigation and lawsuits and legal efforts and the Department of Justice to to go to these lengths to get Rankin County to be forthcoming about what has been going on. But you know, if they have to be forced, that's what we're here to force them to. They have nothing has happened voluntarily to this point, but the wheels of justice are turning, and so they are appreciative. They are very appreciative, and they are happy in this hour. Okay, we got a Dina. Are you from the press, Miss Dina?
Yes, hi, I'm with ABC News. Thank you for taking my question. A couple of things. Is there also a federal lawsuit, or is it just the civil case? And can you update us on where you are in the civil case? I know that most recently in July, the judge declined the request for Bailey to be dismissed from the lawsuit. And I would also like to hear if you have any plans. Will you be representing any other alleged victims of the Goon Squad or the Rankin County Sheriff's Office? And will you be sharing any details anytime soon of additional victims?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I'm going to just let Attorney Trent Walker answer that question.
Sure. With regard to the federal lawsuit, where things stand are that on last week we had a case management conference with the magistrate in that case, Magistrate Andrew Harris, and he set out deadlines for qualified immunity discovery, which is something that the Fifth Circuit had set out in a case called Carswell versus Camp. When Judge Jordan denied Rankin County and Brian Bailey's motion for qualified immunity, they had a choice of either taking an immediate appeal or in conducting qualified immunity discovery, and they have opted for qualified immunity discovery. That discovery is limited and will take place over the course of the next few months, at which time everyone will revisit their respective positions. We would expect that they will again attempt to file a motion for summary judgment, and just mechanically speaking, that's where the case will be. With regard to other cases, I think Mr. Shabazz mentioned that we do represent Mr. Alan Schmidt, for whom Deputy Elward, Deputy Dedman, and Deputy Updike pled guilty in cases involving his torture and beating at the same time that they pled to the charges in the Jenkins and Parker case. And we do represent Mr. Schmidt. We have spoken with other people, and we do anticipate in the near future other lawsuits that are based on allegations against the Rankin County Sheriff's Department for excessive force and police brutality. At least one of those has been filed. At least one of those cases has already been filed, entitled Mack versus Rankin County, Christopher Mack versus Rankin County. We included in that particular complaint pictures of Mr. Mack where he has said that he was beaten by the Rankin County Sheriff's Department and members thereof. So we anticipate there will be others. We have been contacted by other people whose cases are unfortunately over 3 years old and therefore outside the statute of limitations. But nonetheless, our discussions with those people do support that there has been a pattern of abuse by these officers as well as other officers who are not among the 5 officers who pled to charges involving Mr. Jenkins, Mr. Parker, and Mr. Schmidt. So I hope that answers your question.
Okay. And
Thanks so much.
Let me chime in here and just say that what Attorney Walker is saying is that in terms of Michael Jenkins and Eddie Parker, the litigation continues, and I would say that it continues unnecessarily. From our perspective, these are delay tactics that are avoiding the invitable. And the invitable is that Michael Jenkins and Eddie Parker must be adequately compensated for what has happened to them. And I think part of the issue is that Rankin County has failed to appreciate exactly how serious the situation is. And they are out of line with national standards of police brutality and compensation to victims. It's true that this lawsuit by Mr. Jenkins and Parker could have been resolved by now. But I think that generally it's a true statement that Rankin County has yet to appreciate its benign neglect in supervising its sheriff's department and to preventing these incidents over the years. And so we know that the federal investigation is enlightening them just to how serious their problem is. But I do want to say that part of the issue is that the underappreciation for Rankin County to just how serious their actions are, or lack of action are, and appreciation for what has happened to their victims is still lacking. That's why the feds have had to step in, and that's why our struggle continues. But we consider the litigation just delaying the inevitable.
Thank you. Just a quick clarification. So are there two separate cases? I know about the federal lawsuit for sure. And then is there an additional civil lawsuit that's also ongoing? Or is that the same lawsuit?
No, there's a lawsuit by Mr. Schmidt coming. As you all know, that on December 4th, 2022, part of these plea agreements of the Goon Squad included Christian Dedman and Hunter Elward, who viciously abused Mr. Schmidt, and that was part of their plea agreement. So that lawsuit is coming. There's another one that's in the federal courts. Maybe Mr. Walker will give the number if he desires for that. And there are some others on the radar. We plan on coming back to you all soon, highly likely within the next 2 weeks with more lawsuits. And we do want to say on this broadcast that if you all want to give out the email of attorney.shabazz@yahoo.com, attorney.shabazz@yahoo.com, we are open to talking to victims and witnesses over the years, because no matter how long ago it has occurred, these victims will have their chance to stand up for justice. So more are coming. There's one in that Attorney Walker has filed, and several more strong ones are coming. And we are putting the message out here today that no longer do Rankin County residents have to hide, or victims of Rankin County police abuse have to hide for fear of retaliation, for fear that Brian Bailey is all powerful, that he is unopposed in his election and no one can challenge him, and that Brian Bailey is going to somehow come back and retaliate against him because the federal government is now overseeing Rankin County. And so much more action is anticipated from us.
Thank you.
Mr. I guess I go to, is that Cameron Smith, McBride, and Smith? Jay, any of y'all from the press? Jay, McBride, Smith? We'll take other, yes.
My name is Mukta Joshi, and I'm with Mississippi Today. And there's certainly been a number of steps towards accountability for these abuses. But my question was, in your view, what would justice actually look like?
Okay, how do you mean? Do you mean overall for Rankin County, or does it mean for specifically for Jenkins and Parker?
Both, but also specifically for Jenkins and Parker.
Okay, I'll take on the first part, and I'll let Trent comment on Jenkins and Parker. I would say that justice first looks like Sheriff Brian Bailey not being in charge of the Rankin County Sheriff's Department. I mean, there's no other sheriff's department or police department in America that has where a supervisor of such vicious criminals as the Goon Squad have been convicted to 132 years in federal prison, and their supervisor remain on the job. And so the justice and with the federal government investigating Rankin County, and justice looks like Rankin County stepping up to censure Brian Bailey. We know he's an elected official. The NAACP has a petition out right now that they are completing that is going to the governor, that will put the ball in the governor's hand, who he would have the power to remove Brian Bailey. Rankin County Board of Supervisors could censure, and they could censure Brian Bailey. They could come out and declare that they are not in support of Brian Bailey as Rankin County finances Brian Bailey. Further justice in this case looks like it's going to be that Rankin County would have to enter into a consent decree with the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division that as a result of their errors and violations, that they would have to enter into an agreement with the Department of Justice to enact serious reforms. And hopefully one of those reforms would be the exit of Brian Bailey. And if they don't agree with the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division, then the Department of Justice is going to sue Rankin County. And so that's what justice is looking like for the county. It's going to be censuring Brian Bailey, cooperating with the NAACP, and hopefully the governor to remove Brian Bailey, and also to be firm, Rankin County, that they are going to move into this century, not the last century, in terms of compensating victims of police brutality. And we've seen it in Minnesota, we've seen it around the country, and it appears that Rankin County is still somewhere back in the 1960s. But I turn it to Attorney Walker.
Well, don't have a lot to add to that. I think that really justice would look like a fair settlement to Mr. Parker and Mr. Jenkins for what it is that they've gone through. And in particular, first of all, they're each lucky to survive this incident. In particular, Michael Jenkins was lucky to survive this incident because very few people can actually sustain a bullet wound to the inside of their mouth that goes through the jawbone and out the neck, and then they live to survive to tell the tale. And so we need to take that, but you also have to take into consideration when we're talking about damages, the life-altering nature, and the mental effects that having to go through this incident took, not just on Mr. Jenkins and Mr. Parker, but to all of the victims of the Goon Squad, either in filed cases or unfiled cases. I can tell you that I've spoken to numerous people who just from observation have to relive the experience that they went through, and you can tell that counseling at a minimum would certainly be in order, and that several of these victims certainly suffer from PTSD. So there needs to be an acknowledgement on the part of the Sheriff's Department, on the part of Bailey, and on the part of the county that allowing these officers and this department to run roughshod for as long as it did had a negative toll on the citizens of the county, in particular, Mr. Jenkins and Mr. Parker, Mr. Schmidt. So that would be the short version of what justice looks like to me.
And the goon squad is bigger than just the 6 officers who were convicted. We know that as a fact right now. That the goon squad is bigger than just the 6 officers that were convicted, 6 deputies, and that this excessive force just ran rampant throughout Rankin County, particularly on the night shift and in the drug interdiction squads. I mean, there are officers right now that are still on duty and on the force who have participated in the same acts that the 6 convicted deputies are in prison for. So there's much more work to be done. But I mean, Rankin County has got to step up. Board of Supervisors has to step up. I think that ignoring the problem and hoping it will go away has gone on long enough. It's only given Rankin County a very bad reputation before the nation, a bad reputation before the world, and if I were them, I would change course. And I do want to thank Mississippi Today and others who have been pioneering in their journalism that have helped uncover the things that we're talking about today. Okay, we have who is that there? Okay, McBride, Smith, McBride, go ahead. McBride, you got the floor. Okay, what about Cameron Smith? You got the floor.
From Channel 12 in Jackson. You mentioned that this lawsuit could have been resolved by now. Can you explain a little bit more why you think that, why that could have been, how this could have been resolved before the Fed stepped in, and just a little bit more why you think that Rankin County is failing to appreciate how serious the situation is?
I believe it could have been resolved if Rankin County at least fundamentally acknowledges that Black lives matter, and that the damages and the consequences of what they have allowed to happen to Mr. Jenkins and Parker deserves more compensation than they have been willing to offer, much more. That's what we say. It could have been resolved had they been in line with national standards for police brutality cases and their resolutions. If they were even approaching being in line with national cases and national standards and being willing to come forth with that to Mr. Jenkins and Parker, it could have been resolved. It will resolve some, it will take initiative by Rankin County. It will take actually going beyond their insurance policy and going into their budget to make these victims whole. It's a fundamental principle that Rankin County must be willing to go beyond their insurance limits, which to us are unfairly low, that they're unreasonably low, and to be able to take accountability as a county and to compensate Jenkins, Parker, and other victims from the budget of Rankin County. That's a straight answer to your question.
Attorney Shabazz,
Yes.
This is Ernest McBride.
Yes, Mr. McBride.
I was muted and didn't know how to get back into the system just a minute ago. All right. There's one overbearing question in my mind. I see the similarities between the goon squad treatment there in Rankin County and what is happening in Gaza and in Palestine. These Israelis with the invasion occupation forces. They are using those sex toys, if you want to call them sex toys, on the prisoners in both Gaza and the West Bank. And the general population is cheering them on. and they refuse to let the courts prosecute these men. Now, I'm asking, is there a possibility, because I know there was this relationship among American police and Israeli police training them for years. Is the Goon Squad a product of the Israeli defense forces or Mossad or whoever it is, training them in these techniques? And how can we, if this is true, what can we do about it?
Okay, so I don't have any information that that the Rankin County. Are you from a news agency?
I'm from the Jackson Advocate.
Jackson Advocate.
Sorry, you
Thank
didn't recognize me.
Honors to the great Charles Tisdale and your legacy. I don't have any information, sir, that the Rankin County Goon Squad is connected to any foreign entity or connected to that. Although I'm saddened to hear what you're telling me about what's happening abroad. These human rights violations that have occurred in Rankin County are homegrown. Unfortunately, Mr. McBride, certain forces, I don't want to broad brush the whole state of Mississippi, but I want to say that certain forces that you well know in Mississippi, they don't need any outside force to teach them how to hate and how to violate human rights and how to go to the lowest levels. I mean, unfortunately, as we go back through Medgar Evers and through the history of Mississippi, is that Mississippi, unfortunately, has taught the world and taught others on how to violate human rights and how to desecrate prisoners and advocates of civil rights and human rights.
That's correct.
So I can't make this connection there, but I would say that this is homegrown terror. This is homegrown terror here, and unfortunately, this is a state that has that just others, and you know, if you're going back just through the Night Riders and Jim Crow and back to Reconstruction, that this is a state that has had an influence worldwide on instructing other repressive societies on how to repress.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Okay, Mr. Are we coming back? Mississippi Free Press has another question.
Hey, yeah, this is Shaughnessy Muhammad with the Mississippi Free Press. I just want to follow up on something. I don't know if anybody already asked this. You said that more lawsuits are coming. Do you also anticipate, either you or Mr. Walker, additional officers being arrested? And if so, do y'all anticipate there will be other officers in departments besides the sheriff's deputy? Because I know at least one of those 6 men were a Richland officer. Do you anticipate any other departments being involved?
Go ahead, Mr. Walker.
Yeah, I was going to say, at this point in time, in terms of if other deputies are arrested, certainly that is not our call to make. That will certainly be up to the Department of Justice and or the Mississippi Bureau of Investigations and the Attorney General of Mississippi, who would be the investigating arm for any criminal charges against any additional officers. You are correct that in the original Jenkins and Parker case, it did involve one officer from the city of Richland. Originally, we did name the city of Richland in the Jenkins and Parker lawsuit. However, due to the requirements that are laid out under qualified immunity, the city of Richland was indeed dismissed from the lawsuit. In terms of whether or not the Justice Department will investigate other departments within Rankin County, again, that's not something we're in the position to comment on. Certainly, there have been allegations against other departments, of which I'm sure that the Department of Justice is aware. Whether or not those rise to their own independent investigations, we're not able to say at this time.
Thank you.
But we are interested. We want to say that to all other former deputies and officers that worked at the Rankin County Sheriff's Department, we would say that our doors are open and our ears are open, and we feel that it's a good time. It's a good time for them to come forward now. It'd be better to come forth and talk to us now. That would be the best thing to do, because you know, the Department of Justice is going into everything inside of the department, and it'd be best to come forth now than later. Smith, we take a couple more, and that'll be it. Smith.
Question, how much compensation are they looking for? I know you mentioned that what they were offering is not enough. Can you share anything else about that?
I won't go too far into it. As you all know, that our lawsuit asked for $400 million. And the reason why it asked for $400 million is because we want to make it clear that the acts of the Goon Squad in totality, they do constitute the worst acts comprehensively of police brutality in any case. I mean, if you look at what these 6 officers did in that house, that ultimately culminated with Michael Jenkins being shot in the mouth, and if you look at their use of dildos and torture, and this is the worst. And those sentences given out by Judge Lee, which may have surprised many. Remember, now these sentences are the longest sentences that any officers have been given in any case in America comprehensively. These are the longest sentences. So that's why the civil lawsuit had strong numbers. I'm not going to get into the finer points of our negotiations with Rankin County, but I do firmly say that it requires the Rankin County going beyond their insurance policies and to make victims whole, and they have to make much stronger efforts to show that they, you know, that they not only agree that Black lives matter, but that they understand that the Constitution matters, and so you know, I mean, of course, the case could not going to resolve for $400 million or $300 million, but it will have to be resolved from well beyond what their insurance policies are at this point in time. And that involves contrition. That involves Rankin County having some contrition, and Rankin County can't afford it. Need to let you all know that we know that Rankin County can afford to compensate its victims. That Rankin County is not destitute, poor, or bankrupt.
Thank you.
Okay, we take 2 more here, Mr. I think Jay and McBride, and then unless there's some more down here at the bottom.
Yes, this is Jerry Mitchell from Mississippi today. Was just asking about how much is the Rankin County insurance policy? Do you know offhand?
Trent?
The total amount of Rankin County's insurance policy is $2.125 million. It is what is generally known in the insurance business as an eroding policy, which in short means that the policy covers 1 year, and any and all actions taken on any and all cases are subtracted from the limits of that policy, which would include Rankin County's own attorney's fees on any and all cases that they are on in that policy year. So that is one impediment, we think, to a decent settlement. First of all, we thought that the limits was unreasonably low. And number 2, it is basically you're put in a position where your case is up against every other case that's against Rankin County at in any given policy year.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I mean, we believe that they're underinsured. I mean, with respect to their claims, and what they're risking is a trial and a jury verdict that could cost Rankin County many millions, 50 million, $60 million. That's what they're risking, and it's an unnecessary risk, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, Mr. McBride, then we're gonna close out.
No, I'm out. My hand's still up there. I just didn't lower it. I already
Okay.
asked the question.
All right, so as we conclude, we want to say once again that the Department of Justice investigation in the Rankin County is very serious. It's probably their most serious investigation in the country of any sheriff's or police department. It's certainly the most important. We stand by our convictions that the Rankin County Sheriff's Department over the last decade or more has been one of the worst run sheriff's departments in the country, and that's why the Department of Justice is going forth, and more revelations are forthcoming, more lawsuits are forthcoming. The fight for justice continues, and that's where we are. Okay, we thank you all for joining us again. If any victims or witnesses or officers or former officers in Rankin County Sheriff's Department want to talk to us, my email is attorney.shabazz, SHABAZZ, @yahoo.com. And we say you all stand by, because there's certainly to be more important news to come. Thank you, and bless everybody for attending.
Thank you all.